live too as soon as it starts. So just to give a little backstory while it's loading up on Facebook, I have been doing these meetings like this for, well, not particularly with one person, but hosting like meetings ever since 2021 that I call chain breakers, for people to be able to get together and really just communicate about life. Cause like life be life, and don't nobody have support. And I just realized that having a support system is very important, you know, to really helping you being able to navigate things. Because if you find yourself stuck and the only person whose voice you have to hear is your own, and your own voice is telling you negative things all the time, you just keep finding yourself going around in loops and loops and loops. And so when I about October, I seen somebody, like I said, made a post about domestic violence. And I knew a little bit of her story, but you know how you can know a little bit about somebody, but it's a bigger picture to who they are as a person. So I automatically was like intrigued with like what could have possibly happened in her life that made her this woman that I see today. And so I reached out to her and I asked her about um coming on and just doing her story, you know, just doing her personal story, just herself. And it kind of just like came from that. So more and more people reached out about wanting to be able to tell their story. So I'm super excited that you were one of the ones that reached out and said that you wanted to tell your story. And I want you to feel as comfortable as possible, because at the end of the day, this is just your truth. That's all it is. It's just your truth, and I want you to be able to tell it. Nobody can tell it better than you. I am a very inquisitive type of person. So now if you say something, I want to know a little bit deeper. I'll be like, hold on, pressure. Pump your break. Let me ask you something deeper. But other than that, though, I just want for you to just go with the flow. Just be open. Just be yourself. Um, when we had talked and I told you about like how I did the flyers and everything, I found that picture that I put on your flyer. And it just, I remember we were talking about like the journey back, like the journey back to Precious. And when I went through your pictures, that was the picture that I found that kind of told me like I'm home. Like this picture represents a happy place for me, a happy time for me. So would I been spot on with that picture? Tell me about like what was going on in that picture. Do you think that was a true representation of the picture that I chose to represent like your journey home and represent I'm here, I'm home now?
Yes. And the reason why is because um, at that particular moment, I was actually working doing massages. So I do have 10 degrees in Reiki, and that was what I was in my uniform. And so what I do is I basically volunteer to help people heal. So what Reiki is, it's like a healing art. It's like a martial arts, but it's a healing art. So basically, it deals with balancing chakras, understanding you as a person on an energetic and a spiritual level. And basically, in that picture, I was at home, and it was part of my journey as far as like the Reiki, because that's how I learned, or that's where I began to heal. So it was definitely a great representation of who I am now and how my journey actually started. And it actually started with Reiki.
I like that. I like that. So we gotta make sure we come back to that. So I told you, like the way I like to do these meetings, and if there's anybody, male or female, that feels like you would like to come on and tell your story, please feel free to reach out to me so we can have these heart to heart conversations. But the kind of way that I like to set up the meetings is we already know that there is a something that we need to talk about, you know what I'm saying, that happened in your life that changed the dynamics of your life. But before we get there, I like people to take me back to what was life like before the trauma, like before things went bad. What is like the good moments that you remember before the trauma? What was life like for you then?
Well, for me, I can't honestly say that the trauma actually started at a very, very early age. I can probably recall maybe around 3 or 4, dealing with, the sexual abuse or whatever, molestation. But besides that, being a baby or a child growing up, trying to deal with that and not really understanding, the rights and wrongs of that. I enjoy being with my family. Like I have a very close knit family as far as like with my granny, my mom, my aunties, cousins and different things like that. But mostly, the happy moments were the happy moments. A lot of them I just can't recall. And it's not to discredit nobody in my family or nothing like that, but it's more so to say, like, as a kid growing up, I enjoyed going to church. I enjoyed doing praise dancing, singing in the choir. I was very active in school. So pretty much throughout my life, well, especially as a kid, it was basically just normal home things, things that you did as a kid, go to football games, hang out with your friends, just a typical life, as a teenager, even growing up, it was just pretty much the typical things that we enjoy doing.
You know what I feel like is interesting is that with you saying that like the trauma started very early, but for the most part, you kind of remember the generalized things of just growing up. And I remember, like, for me, I don't remember any solidified good things that, like, oh, this was a great day. It's like the bad things are what's highlighted in the forefront, but it's like I know I had dolls, I know I played with dolls, I know I had a bike, I know I rode a bike, I know I did kid things because there's pictures. But it's like actually remembering life and significant parts of it. I had to be at least maybe, I don't know, maybe 7 or older for those type of things. So like for you, you said that the sexual molestation started very young, as early as 3. So do you think that that is the first solid memory that you have of your life as a child? Is that the first solid memory? Like, does your remembrance start at 3?
It's yes and no, because like if I had to think back, that's where I would go. And that's
Mm-hmm.
really I remember. It was between like the age of 3 and 4. um i I really don't remember a lot of details as far as like what my life was like before then. There was like this one memory that I do have vaguely. When I was 1, my godmother, she was throwing me a birthday party, and she put me on the table and I stuck my foot in my birthday cake. And that's one of the earliest memories that I have where there was no trauma and everything was pretty much what it was at that time.
Okay, so going into the age of 3 or 4 where the sexual molestation starts. And this part I feel like is important because I know of other people who were, violated that young. And a lot of folks think that we're still at an age at 3 or 4, you're still at an age where you're not gonna remember this. Like, okay, something traumatic happened to you, but you're not gonna remember it. And I remember talking to a friend of mine, and it's almost like it was so vivid to her as if it happened like in her teenage years. And so it was kind of hard to hear her talk about it because it was like people wanted her to be like in that mindset where you were so young, you can't remember that. You don't know what happened. That didn't happen. You were too young to have any emotions or be affected by it. So tell me how your story played out with it.
Well, as far as my memory go, I do recall that we was living out of town with some family. And at the time, I remember I liked the music then. I liked it to dance. And there was this one particular cousin. He used to like bebop and make music or whatever. And I used to always dance. But I didn't realize that it was like a trap. Like he was luring me like to the bedroom and different things like that. Like he would pick me up, put me on his back. And then next thing I know, like we'll be down the hallway. Then I'm in his room. And like normally it would just be like just my other cousins there or whatever. And like I don't think that they was aware of what he was doing because nobody never really came and looked for me. At
Right.
the time, if they did, I can recall one incident where I think they came to look for me, but he was so much bigger than me. He actually laid on top of me to where they couldn't see me. So they didn't, I don't think that they knew that I was there. And then it was a couple times where I was left at home with them, and everybody would be up at night, or whatever. And then of course everybody gonna fall asleep at a certain time. So this particular night, I remember going down the steps, and I put something up at the door to unlock the door, and I left out the house in the middle of the night looking for my mama. But it was just like in my mind, it's like I just felt like I needed to get away from him. Like I feel like that I was running. I didn't know that that's what I was doing. It seemed like because I was so young, but in my mind, it was like I need to just get out of here because my other cousins, which was his sisters, they were asleep. So I was up by myself, and I felt like he was gonna come looking for me or something like that. So I just immediately acted out of being a kid, and I ended up coming outside, and it was in the middle of the night. We was in a bad neighborhood and stuff, but I went to knock on people's doors, and I was looking for my mom, and I found my mom, true enough, or whatever. But I don't think I was able to communicate, what was actually going on or what my reason was for coming out the house this late. I do remember probably getting in trouble for it, but later on, maybe I don't know if the timeline is here or there, kind of like in the same order, but I remember there was some blood in my panties at one point in time, and I told my mom. And of course, being a kid, I didn't know what the next step would be, from reporting or telling my mom something like this. So as I was growing up, I kind of blamed my mama, or I kind of was angry, or I felt some type of way like, oh, they didn't do nothing about this, they didn't do nothing about that. But truthfully, if I could be honest now, she did. She removed me from that situation. She removed me from that environment, and she sent me back to Mississippi to live with my grandparents. So that to me, now that I'm old enough and I'm wise enough to understand, that to me was her taking action. So it's like I spent so much of my life blaming her for not doing something, but in all actuality, she did. But it's just the fact that as a kid, like, I don't know if we feel like, they supposed to do stuff in front of us for us to feel like that it was done, or, or everything was handled, or somebody's supposed to fight or go to jail or whatever the case may be. But
Then
being a
what was
kid,
in your mind? At that time, what was it in your mind that you felt like you wanted her to do to make you feel like she did something?
well, at that age, I really don't know. It was when I got older, and this was something that was like a constant thing that was happening in my life by different people. And so as I got older, when it happened to me again, I didn't say nothing until I was like the age of 18. But it was like when it was happening, it's like I was scared to say anything because I felt nothing was going to get did. And then it was so close to home. So I kind of just live with the shame. You know what I'm saying? I even live with the guilt of not telling or not talking about it. And then when I finally did, it was kind of like out of an act of being angry, or, what I'm saying? I was explosive. I was disrespectful when I said it, you know what I'm saying? But overall, at that age, around like 11, 12, maybe 13, at that time, I feel like if I was to tell something like that, I feel like something, I need to see some type of action. I need to see you cuss them out, or, you know what I'm saying? Or something. That's just how I felt like at that time, even when I got older. And I even assess my thoughts about, well, what was she supposed to do? You know what I'm saying? Normally time when you think about somebody sexual assaulting you, your child or something like that, you automatically assume that they're going to go to jail. But not everybody acts in those ways, because a lot of times people look at it like, okay, well, either I can do something about the situation, remove you from the situation, confront, what I'm saying, the person about it, just different things like that. But like I say, I just thought as a kid, I should have saw something, but because I didn't, it doesn't mean that nothing wasn't, what I'm saying, that nothing didn't take place. But by the time I got 18, it was a wrap. Like I was pretty much in my own head. I felt like nobody was protecting me. I felt like I was being treated a certain type of way, because my mama, she was very hard on me, but she wanted to protect me. And that was her way of protecting me, right? So I was in my head like y'all doing all of this trying to protect me, but everything that y'all trying to protect me from is happening to me anyway.
Right.
So that made me very rebellious, and I was very stubborn, very stubborn. I had a smart mouth, so you really couldn't say nothing to me, because just because I had that bit so deep in my heart, it's like I looked at everybody like, you can't say nothing to me. You can't say nothing to me. You can't say that. Every time somebody said something, I was ready to get smart with them, because that's what was in my head. And I lived with that for a very, very, very long time.
I've heard a lot of people who have, and for me, I mean, I was angry. For sure enough, I was angry, and I showed out, and it was because it was from hurt, but it wasn't from, sexual assault or anything. It was just from hurt of feeling like, neglection, overlooked, abandoned, and things like that. So for somebody who has a teenage child who may be experiencing like the ups and downs, you getting the avoidance, you're getting the attitude, you're getting all of these things. Do you think that you would recommend that if your child gets to that stage that you need to investigate it deeper and not look at it as just like a teenage thing? Because I feel like it's so many kids that get brushed off and they get overlooked. And it's like, it's clear signs that I'm trying to tell you something is wrong, but I don't know how to express to you that something is wrong. But yet, you just brush it off. Oh, you just being a child. Oh, you just don't want to listen. Oh, you just this. Oh, you just that. Why do you think it's so hard for parents to just sit down and face the truth of something might seriously be going on with my child? And do you think that if that had been done, if somebody had just sat down and just allowed you the space to tell your truth that, like, I'm mad as hell, do you think it would have made a difference as far as you continuously being subjected to the rape and the molestation?
Uh, Kind of, but I kind of had a safe space, but I don't think I utilized it properly, because with my mom, she was very strict. So I think I was afraid to talk to her, because she would always tell me that I could come to her and I can tell her whatever. Like, I mean, I got all the talks, I got all the lessons. Like, don't be scared to come to me and talk to me. You can talk to me about anything. I don't care what nobody tell you. I don't care if they say they're gonna kill me or whatever, or kill you. You still come and tell me anyway. I got those talks. I even got the talks of even having to listen to the things that happened to her. So I knew that she understood, but again, as a kid, I'm still not grasping the whole concept of just opening up my mouth and telling her, because still I was scared. I was
Mm-hmm.
scared that if I said something, what her response was going to be. I was scared that if I said something, like, I didn't really know how, what it was. I was basically afraid of the unknown. And really,
Yeah.
rightfully, I wish I could have just came out and just said it. And to be honest, I felt like if I had just came out and just said it, I do feel like she would have listened to me, and she would have gave me the talk that I would have needed. I even feel like she would even got me some help. You know what I'm saying? Because even when I got older and I did say something about it, like, she did try to get me help or whatever. And then, I mean, it just kind of pretty much just went from there. But to any parent that have teenage children or have kids in general, whether they're boys or girls, pay attention to their behavior, because not all behavior is just out of rebellion. You know what I'm saying? A lot of times they be trying to tell you stuff or communicate certain things to you, but they probably don't know how. And I honestly say that with my mom, she really did everything that she knew how to do as far as like raising me, you know what I'm saying, and my brother, like, but she was mainly like in survival mode. She was just basically trying to make sure we had a roof over our head, we had clothes, you know what I'm saying? She tried to make sure that we had all of our needs. So a lot of times the love and affection, you know what I'm saying? I knew she loved me. I knew she cared about me, but it wasn't just the open embraces a lot of times. So I didn't feel so close to her. But maybe like I had other people that I felt, you know what I'm saying, I could go to and talk, maybe like somebody else's mom, or maybe one of my friends, or you know what I'm saying, like just different people. But I remember I had told some friends about one of the incidents when I was about 11 or 12, but the way my friend tried to go back and tell my mom was like as if I was going with the man. But
Mhm.
it's like when she came and she asked me, I automatically was like, no, mama, I'm not going with him. But I should have just went on and came out and just said, well, mama, that's a lie. This, that happened. You know what I'm saying? And maybe that could have helped the situation. But when she said, oh, such and such called and said that you was going with such and such, and I'm thinking to myself now, as I got older, I was like, now if I got a phone call about my teenage little girl or my little girl talking about she going with a grown man, I need to investigate that situation anyway. Whether she
Mhm.
say no or not, I need to know why. If she did say that, why would she feel so comfortable to say something like that, or to tell somebody like, what is this grown man doing to my child to make her feel like they go together?
Right, right.
You get what I'm saying? So,
Mhm.
I think I would have kind of went a little bit deeper in the situation, but it was pretty much when I said, no, mama, that's not true.
The door closed.
It
That
was
was
just
the
kind of like, oh, it just kind of was left at that. So the situation was never looked into or talked about, or nothing like that. And this person was actually my neighbor. So I
Mhm.
still saw this person every day. I hung out with their daughter, you know what I'm saying? Like the daughter was my best friend. So it's kind of like I was kind of stuck in a, a situation to where I was trying to save her feelings, you know what I'm saying? Didn't really want to tell my mama, because if I told my mama, then it was going to probably end our friendship. It was just so many different things that was going on in my head at the time. And I kind of just overlooked it for so many years. Like I knew it had happened. And at this point, like I started liking boys and, you know what I'm saying, doing stuff. And then I had this phase of wanted to be pregnant all the time. You know what I'm saying? Like, but this came from me experiencing this sexual act so early, and I'm associating sex with getting pregnant and having the, you know what I'm saying, and having babies. So that's where I think a lot of that came from. So like I said, as I got older, like a lot of this stuff I didn't realize then. But once I started, just really just going, just reflecting about a lot of different things and understanding my truth, because a lot of this stuff that I'm talking about, like I used to blame myself for a lot of these things, but it was nobody's fault, if I can be completely honest. Because even now I'm talking about it, like I don't feel no type of way about it, or you know what I'm saying, or anything. This is just a part of who I am now. And I learned a lot from this situation.
That's true. And I like how you said, like right now. Hold on, let me turn my TV off. My baby was watching a Christmas movie. But like you said, okay. We're going through that situation, and again, like I've listened to a lot of talk to a lot of people who have gone through molestation and rape, and it's always a part of time that they chose to protect protect the predator. They chose to protect somebody else, so it's like, okay, I'm gonna tell myself that I'm able to tolerate this, although I know it's wrong, although it makes me feel this type of way. I'm gonna tolerate it because I want to protect somebody else's feelings, even if it costs me hurting my own. What that that emotion, that right there is heavy. Tell people the heaviness to carry that type of trauma, and the whole time you trying to protect people when you ain't even protecting yourself.
Right. So definitely that is it's very heavy, because you tend to put other people's feelings before yours. And I don't know if I understood that at the time, like what I was really doing, but I think it was really out of fear. I think most of that was out of fear, but just carrying that burden. I don't know. A lot of times I would just cry, but I would cry to myself. You know what I'm saying? Like I would have my good days, my bad days, and I was never really able to just kind of communicate why I was feeling the way that I was feeling. Again, like I said, when I turned 18, at that point in time, I had already ran away. So when I was like maybe like 16, I had got a car. So when I got my car, I was a little bit more kind of like active in the streets and stuff like that. So a certain incident had took place, and I actually said something about it. But the deal with that was when I finally said something about it, it was kind of like I wasn't saying it out of anger. I wasn't saying it to be funny, but I was kind of making a point because I had started dating or whatever. And my mom, she was okay with it, but she was pretty much like, she kind of was, kind of being, she was being a mom with the situation, right? So I'm kind of, kind of upset and I'm kind of mad with her, you know what I'm saying? Because, kind of probably some things that was going on or had taken place. So when this incident happened, in my mind, I'm like, now I know this wrong. And then now I'm battling whether I should say something or not say something because I'm trying to think about how my mama feel towards me. So, I'm thinking like, okay, if she mad or she feel the type of way towards me, I better not say nothing. But anyway, I end up mentioning the situation. It came up and out or whatever. And so at this point, I actually got a chance to kind of see, what was going, what happened after I actually, spoke on the situation. So she confronted that person. That person wanted to confront me. So, during this confrontation, I repeated everything that was said to me or whatever. And they were just pretty much like, oh, it's just some things you can say and some things you can't. And that pissed me off. I'm just going to be honest because I'm at the age now where I understand what's going on. So now I'm pissed. But I'm also paying attention to my mom. And it's not to say that she didn't believe me, but got to also understand this is somebody that she is close to or trust or whatever the case may be. So she's kind of like stuck in the middle as well. So I did actually get a chance to experience that type of feeling and that emotion. But from that, I was out the door. I skipped school and I got caught. But by the time I got caught, I had already left the house. And when she called me and she was like, oh, you skipped school, it was like I made a sudden decision right then. I hadn't planned it or nothing. I didn't have no clothes or nothing. I was just like, I'm not coming back. And it just kind of went from there. But I think that was just from just so much weight that I was feeling like I was carrying, and I just wasn't able to just openly it just express everything that I really wanted to say. I used to lie to my mom about stuff because I didn't want to get in trouble. I didn't want to get a whooping. So a lot of times when I tried to tell her stuff, it was her having to be put in a position to believe me or not. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I also had to consider that as well.
Mm-hmm.
So even at that point, after I had ran away from home, she did everything she could. She wanted me to come back home. I wanted to go back home. So normally, when we go to church and we in the church or whatever, we have a pastor. We have church people. We have a church family. You know what I'm saying? So at this particular point in time, that was who was, what I'm saying, the contact person. Like, look, hey, I got this going on. I need some help. You know what I'm saying? Pray for me. I need this. Why? I don't know the conversation. But all I know is I ended up at the pastor house. To me, that could have been why, you know what I'm saying? That could have been just avoided. But I understand why, you know what I'm saying? But then it was also part of the reason why I didn't return home. And so with that being said, it really broke me because as bad as I wanted to, reconcile the situation with me and my mom, with the pastor being the mediator and the different things that was going on with him, that wasn't the best choice. It
Right.
actually pushed me further. When I say literally, it pushed me further away from home. I didn't want nothing to do with home. Even though it was times I went back, I tried to make it work. It's just I couldn't grasp it because I'm still having to get up and go to church on Sundays. I couldn't take it. You know what I'm saying? It was just so much going on inside of me at this point. The best thing I feel like for me was to just get up out my mama house, just leave. And I was young. I know for a fact I was young, but I worked. I had a vehicle. I didn't have another place to stay, but I was staying, you know what I'm saying, here and there. Whatever door opened up for me, if I could lay on the couch, I'm on the couch. If I can, you know what I'm saying, I did it. If I had to sleep in my car, I did it.
So did you feel like at that particular time that with everything that was going on, it was, even if it came down to you staying in your car, having to sleep on somebody else's couch, that was a better scenario for you than to stay in the home and be subjected to the burden that you felt?
Yeah, it just seemed like that was the best choice at the time. But if I can be completely honest, I kind of wish that I would have just communicated with my mama. If I could have just opened up to her more and just really like told her what I was really going through or what I was dealing with, I honestly feel like that runaway from home wouldn't have happened. You know, because I would have knew that I was able to, I had somebody. And it's not to say that she wasn't there, and it's not to say that she was a bad mom. It's just that I wasn't open. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't open and honest with her all the time. So a lot of times I got in trouble. I got whoopings. You know what I'm saying? Because I lied because I didn't want to get in trouble, but I still end up getting in trouble anyway. So, you know, we didn't have the best relationship when it came down to certain things. So a lot of times I did stuff out of rebellion, but a lot of times I did it just because I didn't really know how to express myself.
And I think, and listening to you discuss it, um, with me and my daughter. So because this like, I want to sit right here with this, because I even want to, when we get done with this conversation, I even want to know how to parent a little bit better, because I'm hearing you say like, my mom was there. My mom, if I made the choice to talk to her, I could have made the choice to talk to her, but yet I didn't choose to talk to her because I was just always afraid of getting in trouble. So, like with me, I try to raise my girls to where I do exhibit myself like in a strong way. And I'm the same way with my girls. Like if something happened to you, call me, tell me. I don't care if they threaten to kill you, whatever, whatever, whatever. So it's interesting that you said that, right? Because a situation happened with my baby where she thought that this grown man touched her on the butt in the middle of the night. And my baby, although she had a cell phone, told the adult in the house. Okay. The adult in the house, which was told at, I'm thinking of between 8 and 10 o'clock in the morning, did not call me. Took my child, put her in a car, and went to this person who my child has just told you this morning could have possibly touched me inappropriately. I don't know. I can't say, but I think possibly. Took my baby to this person's family home and then called me at 4 o'clock in the evening. By this time, they've already had conversation with another family member about it. And I'm just trying, and I had a conversation with my baby like 2 weeks ago, because I never asked her, because in a moment I didn't want that to be an important factor. I wanted her to know that I was there to support her more than anything. But I always wondered for these past 3 years, why did my child not call me? Like, I would have been in my car and in Meridian, Mississippi before that motherfucker could have took another breath. But my child trusted this person and told this person, and this person like completely dropped the ball on protecting my child. Completely dropped the ball on protecting my child. And I've lived these last couple of years wondering, did my baby not tell me because I put in her mind? Because I'm real aggressive and nasty with it. If you put
Yes.
your hand on my child, you laying down. You're
Yes.
taking a dirt nap. So now in my head, I'm thinking, did I scare my child? Is my
Yes.
child lying to me because she's afraid of losing me?
Yes.
Because of what I have put in her head that I
Yes.
will do for them.
Yes.
And it hurt me. And I
Yes.
asked her today, why did you do that? Why didn't you call me your mama? And my baby said, Mama, I just told her because she was there. And I hate the fact that my baby had to endure that, and the person that she went to dropped the ball because it went against everything I've taught my kids.
Right.
And it hurt me and it broke me and it made me feel a type of way. But I just want to make sure that I don't overlook things that may cause my baby to think that I rather sneak out of the
Deal
window
with it.
and avoid having this conversation with my mom because I'm afraid of how she's going to take it. I'm afraid of what could be the repercussion because I'm gonna tell you, when I did get the phone call, I got my gun, and before I left my apartment, I literally said, I'm okay if I never step foot back in here. Because if I gotta go lay this person down, that's what I'm doing for my baby.
Right.
It just so happened that my baby started crying, and I told my baby, whatever you want to do, I'm with you. And she said, I just want to go. And I got
Right.
my baby and I left. But the person who she trusted said nothing. Said not a mumbling word, got up and literally walked out of the room. Now, this man was there trying to finish, so he like, look, I would never do that. I would never da. But I'm just like, why? You are the middle person here. This is your damn house.
Right.
And you say nothing to protect your spouse or your family. And
Right.
so it left me feeling like, what the hell? Like, I didn't know how to feel as a mother. What have
Right.
I failed my child? Did I do the right thing? Did I say too much? Did I instill fear in her? So listening to you saying that, like, this was in my head. This is what I told myself, that I couldn't go to tell my mom this because she might receive it this way. I just want to make sure that this is not what I'm setting up in my child head, because I want to be that safe place for my child. I want to be the person that my child comes to. But also, like you said, with the things that you did that kind of built up that distrust between you and your mom, that is also there between me and my child. I don't know when to trust certain things. And
Yep.
so that makes it hard to mother her. But my most important thing is that I'm not trying to fail my kids. That's the most important thing. So going back into your story, you ran away and you said, okay, look, this situation that happened with the church stuff, I'm not going back there. But although you said, I wish now I would have talked to her, talk about what that drive was like when you stuck in that place of like, I should just go back and talk to my mama, but you know what? I'm just gonna struggle through this another day. Like, what did that end up turning into?
Okay, so one thing I want to address about your daughter, about that situation, and it's funny that you even mentioned that because I actually experienced a situation just like that with my daughter. And do you not know that the person Tosa had told my daughter, like, basically, like, I don't have time to get into it with your mom, as into why I wasn't contacted immediately at the time that it was mentioned, right? Mm-hmm. So to go in, not to go into details about it, but also the fact of this right here, my baby wanted to tell me, and she did tell me. But I also realized too, again, it have been situations where the truth have not been told, you know what I'm saying? So I had to be careful, but I still was very cautious about the situation, but I removed my child from that situation, if that makes sense. But I also still try to talk to my baby and let her know that even though you think that I'm gonna do something bad to this person, still don't be afraid to come to me and tell me, because that's not going to change the situation. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You want to protect me, but I also have to protect you, you know. But at the end of the day, I do have to think about the fact that the children, when they think like that, they're not wrong. Because what if we do act out of anger and act out of our emotions, and then something happens and we're taken away from our kids? That leads us to still leave them in the hands of other people. So you really can't blame them for not wanting something to happen to the mom, you know what I'm saying? Even though they probably didn't come and just tell you right off, or, you know what I'm saying, or something like that. But a lot of times it be just out of fear of losing that parent. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So opening up to somebody else, they may not react like the parent, but they'll be there to listen. You know what I'm saying? A lot of times it's just wanting to be able to tell somebody and get it off your chest, because you dealing with it and holding it in, you're going to feel some type of way. You're going to think about it, and your behavior, your mindset, things about you are definitely going to change. But if you open up about it and you talk about it, you have a better chance at saving yourself a lot of heartache, you know, just by telling somebody, even if it's not your mom or your dad or your parents or somebody, just to be able to just find a safe space to be able to communicate that.
Mm-hmm.
And also, like, with the question about, you know, wanting to go back home and not being able to go back home, for me, it was one of them things where my mom, she ended up getting married. And
Mm-hmm.
once she got married, she moved from from the home that she had built for me, for me, my brother and her, whatever. She moved from that house. So once that happened, I felt like I didn't have a home, even though I did. Let's be clear, I did. You know what I'm saying? I just felt like I did. You feel what I'm saying? Because now she's married. So it's not just me, my mom anymore. You get what I'm saying? It's my mom and her husband. You get what I'm saying? So it's one of them type of things where I just felt like she moved on. So I even wore that emotion, you know what I'm saying, with me as well, because I'm like, okay, it was like the moment that I felt like, okay, I want to go home. I want to go home. And then to realize that home is not there anymore. I carried that weight on me. I carried the emotions of thinking about my room. I didn't get a chance to just really just be like, okay, I'm leaving. You know what I'm saying? Or I didn't get no closure with that situation. If to be
Right.
honest, there was no closure there, because the runaway was so abruptly, it just happened. You know what I'm saying? When I left home that day, I didn't think I was just leaving and I wasn't never going to come back. Like, it was times I did go back, but I was going back to get clothes. I had to go back to move out, you know what I'm saying? Because we're moving out. Well, my mom, she was moving out of the home. So a lot of my stuff, what happened to it, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? So it was things that I probably was emotionally attached to, or things that I probably had in my room that I never got a chance to see. You know what I'm saying? So it was just a lot of different things that just kind of transpired for it, like dealing with the emotions. The emotions was all over the place, for sure.
Okay. So in the because runaway is part of your title. So talk about, in running away, what did you run into?
Everything. The streets. So the runaway from home was a runaway to the streets. Now, don't get me wrong. I did have a home. I did have a roof over my head, and I did have a family. You know what I'm saying? So that wasn't the bad part. I think for me, the traumas that I dealt with was me now experiencing not having no rules. Now I don't have no rules. I don't have nobody that can really tell me what to do. So now I can do what I want to do. I didn't know what that looked like at the time. But as I got older, I started going to the clubs. You know what I'm saying? Peer pressure is real. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was in school, I had a job, I worked, so I mean, I had a car for one. Let's not forget that. So I could go wherever I wanted to go. So I had friends that still lived at home with their mamas, but I had a car so I could pull up. So anytime I pull up, we finna jump in, you know what I'm saying? They finna jump in and we finna ride, we finna go. They be like, you wanna go to the club? Sure. I wasn't old enough, but I went. So when I started clubbing and getting into that scene, you start meeting people. You start meeting grown people, you know what I'm saying? People that's not really realizing like you're a runaway, you're a kid, but they ready to, take you out, do whatever, whether it's drugs, whether it's sex, whatever it is, you know what I'm saying? Like, it was a whole new different world for me. I mean, once you get in it, you can't just get in and think you finna jump back out. And
Right.
it had consumed me for a long time.
What was your traumas and things like that? How do you think that your childhood traumas played what kind of part did they play in your life during that part of time where you ran away and now you stuck in this cycle of I can do what I want to do and I'm in control of my life? Do you think that you really was in control of your life at that time? Like what, how did the traumas tie into how you navigated through your going into your adult life?
Okay, so it actually played a big role in it because now that I'm around different people, they're way more experienced than me. They grown. Like these are grown people, of course. So, being in the streets, there are no boundaries. You know what I'm saying? The streets don't love nobody. So whether you underage, overage, it didn't ever matter. But sex was definitely something that was like constantly, you know what I'm saying? That was something that was going on. Um, a lot of times it was consensual, sometimes it wasn't consensual. So even when it wasn't consensual, it was like, who do I run to and tell now? Like that safety barrier that I had when I was at home, I didn't have that in the streets. It wasn't nobody you can run to and tell, and they're gonna, what I'm saying, not even a thought of you going to tell, you know what I'm saying? It's like in the streets, if something like that happened and you think you finna go tell and somebody got your back, no, they probably did it to that person too, you know what I'm saying? Or they all might be in it together. Sometimes you can be set up and put in situations like that, especially if they feel like you ain't got nobody. And majority of the time, it was more so a lot of people knew that, either I not so much of being a runaway, but it's like, okay, I showed them that I was grown, basically, like I was an adult. You ain't got to ask my mama. I ain't got to call and ask if I can do this. I can do pretty much, like I say, what I want to do. So they basically took advantage of me because I could do what I wanted to do. So if they say, okay, well, we finna go do this, come on, let's go. That's what it was. So a lot of times with my traumas, like I don't even think I even so much just really just thought too much about it. It's just when things would happen and then like after the fact, like I would feel some type of way. Like I would just sit. Sometimes I get very emotional. I would cry, and it would kind of go against what my lifestyle was. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm out here in the streets, I'm clubbing, I'm doing all this good, you know what I'm saying, all this stuff, thinking, you know what I'm saying, it's cool. But then behind closed doors in a corner somewhere, I'm crying. You feel what I'm saying? That little girl is still in there. So it's like in the public's eyes, I'm this person, but then behind closed doors, I'm still this little girl that's dealing with this trauma. Even though I feel like I'm satisfying myself, it was no satisfaction in it. Because at the end of the day, a lot of things that was happening, it was just because basically, you know how there's a such thing as trauma bonds. People that you think are really for you, they're not really for you, but you might can just relate to them based off a certain trauma that y'all both may have experienced or have in common. So
Yeah.
Thinking like, oh, okay, yeah, this my friend, but really, righteous, they not your friend. Y'all just have a mutual trauma together. You get what I'm saying? Because when you really realize, like, if this was a real friend, my friend wouldn't have me doing this, or my friend wouldn't have me doing that. And not to blame them for nothing that I did. You feel what I'm saying? Because I made choices on my own. But a lot of time, to be completely honest, Shine, a lot of them choices was not my own. You get what I'm saying? Because again, mind you, I'm around adults. I'm around grown people that's been out here for a long time. And a lot of these adults, they be broken children. You feel what I'm saying? They be broken children. Just because they got a certain age on them don't mean that they're mature in the mind. And you have a lot of them, they be like, oh, it happened to me. Oh, this another victim. You get what I'm saying? So being labeled as a victim out in the streets, baby, they gonna eat you up alive. For real.
Dang. That is crazy. But you are absolutely right. And it go back to you having to now create more defense mechanisms to help you hide the stuff that has gone wrong. So it's like, yep, I was molested, but now I gotta find another way to avoid people knowing that, oh, okay, yeah, I was hurt. I felt like I couldn't talk to my mom, so I ran away from home when I really could go back home. But y'all know that, but y'all know I some kind of way like being free and not having rules. But you all on the other side know that at my age, I need rules. I need guidance. I need leadership. Like I need my mom. And you all are not telling me that, so therefore you are taking advantage of who I am. So how long would you say this lasted? How long do you think that you were in a space to where you're just kind of like going with the flow and whatever people say and what they think, you should do, you're doing it?
I would say probably up until I got pregnant with my daughter Treasure. So mind you, I want to mention this because when I was at home with my mom, I was diagnosed with endometriosis. And at that time, it was something that wasn't common. Well, it was common, but a lot of people wasn't aware of it, and it wasn't something that was talked about a lot. So as I was experiencing that at home, I also was experiencing this when I ran away. So I experienced a major hardship with pain. And so that actually capitalized on a lot of the things that I was dealing with when I was in the streets because, I think I could pretty much kind of hold my own to a certain extent, but then once I was dealing with this real physical pain, I was limited. Like I was really limited. So I had to depend on a lot of people, what I'm saying, for support. And that is not always a good thing because I was dependent on people that wasn't my family as well. Right. So once I had got to the point where it was just like I had just had enough, I ended up going to my mom. I was trying, like I always tried to communicate with her, but it was one of them things where my attitude would kind of get in the way or whatever. And I never really considered, I'm not gonna say that I didn't care about her feelings, but I was more concerned about my feelings versus her feelings. You get what I'm saying? But it was like I had ended up going to her because I had started going, like every night I started going to church and stuff. And so I had reached out to her. And so we was getting ready to go to do the hysterectomy surgery. So at first the doctors didn't want to do it because of my age. So when I got to this point, I had just got to a place where I just completely surrendered. And I was just like, God, I just want my life back. You know what I'm saying? I just want to be able to not be in pain and, be able to work and, and do things for myself. And so she was very supportive. She went with me to the doctors and stuff. And so y'all, I end up doing a pregnancy test. So I just knew that it was going to be negative or whatever. So I did the test and we left. So a couple of days later, I got a call and they was like that they wasn't going to be able to do the surgery. And I'm like, why? So at this point, that's when I found out that I was pregnant with my daughter. So with that being said, I immediately called my mom. And I guess me calling my mom was like my way of like, Mom, I need you. You know what I'm saying? Because now I'm finna bring a baby in this world. You know what I'm saying? And I cannot bring a baby in this world going from house to house, staying here, staying there. That's just what it was. Like I knew for a fact that I had in me so deeply to where it didn't matter what I had to do. I knew I had to have a roof over my head for my child that was finna be born. So once that happened, I think that's when a lot of chains really started to break. Because even though we didn't have the closest relationship, I felt like we would be able to at least develop a mutual common interest. You know what I'm saying? And that would be my baby. And to be completely honest, she really was that. She was my door. She was the door opener for me to go home. So, yep, that's what that looked like for me.
I like that. Okay, so I told y'all to talk about the before. So the beforehand, not too much memory. Remember stepping the feet into the cake. Starting the trauma, I would say when you talked about, the molestation as early as 3, and then going through kind of like a continuation of, and even if people have to understand that, like, you don't have to be physically robbed of your innocence. Like, you could be robbed of your innocence in your thoughts, being able to formulate, positive thinking patterns and things like that. it's so many ways to be and get dysfunctional. You know what I'm saying? And find yourself trying to run away. But I think that your topic and what I chose as far as like the runaway, it's more than people run away from a lot of things. And it doesn't have to necessarily be home. You know what I'm saying? We run away from our problems and we'll be right in the house where they are. But we run
Mm-hmm.
away to a bottle, or we run away to, something to smoke, or we run away to sex. And so when you think about running away and then you think about how to get back home, what did that look like? Like when you were sitting there and you like, okay, I'm done with what it feels like in this space of running away. I want to go home now. Did you feel anxiety and what that journey would be like going back home? Like how you said you had all of this anxiety. I know you said, you talked to your mom and stuff like that, but was the anxiety still the same, or what changed, or was it your determination?
Well, to be completely honest with you, Shine, me actually coming home and not being a runaway, I've only not been a runaway for 2 years. And the basically when I did make the decision to finally come home, and I mean literally come home, and like you said, running away can be so many different things because like I said, I had my baby, and I feel like I was home when I, started coming around the family and stuff like that, but it's like I really wasn't there. Like emotionally, mentally, it's like I wasn't there. Physically I was, but like in every other aspect, I don't think I was really there. Like I'm more here now than I have ever been. So this
Wow.
is me being at home basically. But like I've been around the family. I've even, I would go to family functions. I mean, I still was around, but the moment somebody said something wrong, somebody looked at me wrong, I'm talking about anything that I felt like that made me feel uncomfortable. Girl, I would be so fast up out the door. I'm talking about you can go to sleep, wake up the next morning, I'm gone. You can blink your eyes too long, I'm up out of there. I'm talking about I literally I had been just on my own for so long to where I always had clothes packed. I always had something in my car. It don't matter where I went, I was always prepared. I always had stuff in my purse. If I even stayed somewhere and I had like a dresser or something, I kept a garbage bag or something in my dresser. So it's like I was always ready to go. Always ready to go. And it was never a moment where I just felt like I could be like settled and stable. Like I'm still dealing with that now. I'm
It's
still
so
dealing with that
crazy
now.
that you say that. I'm gonna tell you something. Going through this healing process in the last 4 years, you start to look and see what something looks like. You see how, okay, look at the bigger picture. Okay, the bigger picture, people see Precious ran away from home when she was a child. Okay. But look at how you're explaining this dynamic. You ran away from home as a child, but look at how the dynamic shaped your mindset to always be prepared to run. And people,
Always.
we could be around people all the time and not even know like the little simple things you do, like coming over to your house. Like say I come over to your house, I'm like, girl, I need some socks or something, pull your drawer out, and I'm confused at why the fuck do you have a bag in here? Like why is it a bag? It's not gonna make sense to me until you sit down and it's a psychological breakdown of this is what my trauma did to me. My trauma was more than me physically packing a bag and leaving my mama's house. My trauma is me understanding that at any given cost, emotionally, financially, spiritually, mentally, you need to be prepared to uproot and leave. And when you
Yes.
think like that, you cannot settle anywhere. You'll go to a job and you say, oh, this is a good job. But I promise you, y'all come in here tomorrow. I don't care how good your job is. I'm out of here.
I'm gone.
Yeah, you be into a relationship. A person treats you good. Yeah, you be. I don't care nothing about you good to me today. Tomorrow, if you screw over me, I'm gone. And
I
in
am gone.
your mind, you have told yourself this is okay because this is how I have lived my life, and it has worked for me. Even when it ain't worked for us, we tell ourselves it has worked for me because when I started getting attitudes and shit, and I realized it like, oh, okay, all you gotta do is just say something to somebody in a, you know what I'm saying, like an attitude type of way, and they would just go on their way. Oh, I ain't got nothing to say to you. I started looking at, okay, well, if they just won't even take the time to talk to me, if I talk back in an attitude, they'll leave me alone. That's what I just did. So I'm just like, if I didn't want to be bothered, it didn't even matter if you didn't do nothing to me. I just responded to you with an attitude just because I knew that would get you out of my face. And but
Mm-hmm.
now, fast forward, it's almost like that also created a barrier of people being able to communicate with me. So now that's literally the one thing that people use against me to keep from telling me the truth, to communicating with me about things. Oh, well, I didn't know how you was gonna take it. Or, well, I didn't think that you were gonna take, but you're making the choices for me.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know how to take it. You're absolutely right. And you'll never know how I'm going to take it because you didn't give me the opportunity to tell you how I feel about it. And so I think that in this journey, when I talk to people, I always try to get people to understand because, like you said it multiple times when I've asked you, you said, I really didn't think about it then. I really didn't think about it then. It was only now. A lot of us have lived so much our life not even understand that the trauma that we went through as a child has shaped the way we deal with people.
It
It
really
has
does.
shaped the way that we move. It has shaped the way that we think. But because we don't want to give knowledge to the fact that, we've told ourselves, nah, I'm strong. I'm strong. I remember I literally, when I was being in a physical abusive relationship, I just tell myself the dumbest shit. Oh, you strong enough to deal with that? You strong. You can take that. And
And
no,
we'll
but
talk ourselves into going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. But you know what? That's only just out of dealing with probably like abandonment issues, rejection issues, trust issues. Like it's so one
I
for
kept
sure
telling
is daddy
myself.
issues, daddy and mommy issues.
Yeah. I kept on saying it. I said, well, at least he loved me. At least he loved me. But if I've talked to, honestly, and I'm being honest, if I have talked to 200 people about their life and their childhood trauma, I'm almost sure to say 190 of those people childhood trauma came from their mother or father. It was
Yeah.
because these are two important people in our life. And even when they don't have it all together, as a child, you just assume they do. You know what I'm saying? Like, we didn't write a letter down here and say, hey, I want to be born. We were born into the fact that you ain't got no clue how to mother me. You ain't
Yep.
got no clue how to be committed to my mom. You don't have any clue on how to love a child. But yet, all we know is we didn't ask to be here. We're here, and now we need for you to do your part. And when they don't know their part, they just do anything. But then there are some people that go above and beyond to figure it out. And
Right.
those are the ones that I respect. I respect the ones that go above and beyond to figure it out. Like you said, when the stuff initially happened, I thought that my mama didn't do nothing, but my mama separated me from that situation. Yeah, you might didn't think to go press charges, to beat him upside the head, to do something physically that I saw, but you did something that was worth something opposed to doing nothing, just being
Nothing.
left in it. So you were able to actually see that something was done.
Mm-hmm.
So going through everything in your life, going through the ups and downs, getting to the place, like you said, which would be like the last 2 years. How important for you in the last 2 years has it been to overcome everything that you've gone through so that, you know how they always say home is where the heart is? How
And that's true.
important, yeah, how important has these last 2 years been to you to make sure that your heart is right? and it feels like home, and your peace feels like a safe haven for you? Like, what kind of work and they have you done, and how important is it for you?
So most importantly, it's really just holding on to my faith, my faith in God or whatever. But most importantly, it's working on my healing, versus, what I'm saying, looking at what everybody else got going on. It's so much about me and what I need to do for me, because these last 2 years have been amazing. Just from being home. And when I say home, it's really being home where, I mean, like I said, I was always able to call, my mom, my stepdad, different things like that. But to really like have a real relationship with my family is so different. My mom, she'll come over. She have actually spent the night with me. She's more involved in my life on a personal level, you know what I'm saying, versus just it being her just coming to step in to just help handle a situation, or versus her just, making it about just my daughter, you know what I'm saying, or whatever. Like, it seemed like at one point in time it was like my baby was the glue. But it's like now I have a relationship. You feel what I'm saying? So, the relationship that she had with my baby, that's their relationship. And now me and her have a relationship. It's more love and affection there. It's more compassion there. And it actually took for me to spend one of my birthdays alone right before these 2 years actually hit. I would say maybe like 2 years prior, before I actually came home, I spent a birthday by myself. And it's like something dropped in my spirit, and it took me back to just kind of put myself in my mama's shoes. Because I remember, like, on my birth certificate, I looked on my birth certificate, I saw my mom, she might have been like 21 when she had me. And at this time, I'm over the age of 21. So I can definitely like relate to being 21. And then just imagine being 21, having a baby with somebody that's not there. Literally, that's not there. There's no real relationship. There's no real nothing there. And trying to do everything that I can possibly do to take care and raise my child the best way I can. Like, not to even go into details about that situation, but it's like I just immediately had like an overwhelming amount of compassion for her. It's like the love that I didn't think I had for her. It's like it just was like, I don't know, it just was at an extreme amount, you know what I'm saying? Because I'm like, dang, it's like I started feeling where she was coming from, because at this point, I'm a mother. And I remember as a kid, she would say, Precious, you ain't gonna understand till you have your own kids. She said, you ain't gonna understand till you become a mother. So I understood like wanting to be overprotective. I understood everything that my mama was doing. She was only doing it out of love. And I promise you, I spent so many years of my life just not grasping that concept. I just did not grasp. I just felt like, not that she was a bad person, but I just could not understand like why we can't get along, and people were like, oh, because y'all so much alike. People, everybody got their own theories as
Right.
into this and that or whatever. But truth be told, it's like I didn't have the compassion that was necessary for me to really open up to her. You feel what I'm saying? Because I had to also understand she a woman just like I'm a woman. Guess what? She experienced a lot of things that I experienced. So if I should have had, if I needed to be trauma bonded with somebody, it should have been her. You get what I'm
Right.
saying? Because we definitely could relate to a lot of the traumas that we both have experienced. But because she was my mom, I think I just put that barrier right there and just put like a brick wall. And it was just kind of like, just deal as I should. But to actually develop a relationship of love by choice, you feel what I'm saying? Not because she's my mom, but because I choose to love her. You know what I'm saying? And it's more so now, like, she don't just love me because I'm her daughter. She loved me because she chooses to love me. You get what I'm saying? We are choosing and we are intentional with the love that we have for each other. We're intentional with our relationship. It's not just, oh, just because that's my mama. Oh, just because that's my daughter. No, because you can just be somebody to somebody and can be the source and the cause of their pain and their trauma. You get what I'm saying? But in order for me to be able, like, my healing started with me. but then it also started with being able to be accountable. You get what I'm saying? So I became more accountable of my actions, my behavior. I was more aware of what I was doing. You know what I'm saying? I even prayed and asked God to help me with my delivery, because a lot of times I didn't know how to express myself until I got real mad. Then when I get mad, I'm cussing, I'm fussing, and it's gonna flow like water, but it's disrespectful. Completely disrespectful. And when it's over and I've been said everything I wanted to say, I feel horrible, because now, most importantly, I done disrespected my mama. You see what I'm saying? So it was more so of wanting to be able to communicate with her and to express myself to her without being disrespectful. And the more I worked on it and worked on it and worked on it, it was like, it even got to a point where one time I felt like it happened, and it's like I was so hurt and I was so broken behind it, because I was like, that wasn't supposed to go like that. You know what I'm saying? But it's like the enemy have a way of wanting to come between some great relationships. You know what I'm saying? When he see the potential in a great relationship, he gonna try to do any and everything he can to try to keep it separated, or to keep it, you know what I'm saying, from being what it's supposed to be. So overall, like I say, like, I just focus more on my accountability, and then for my mom to take accountability. And I was like, no, mom, you ain't do nothing. She was like, oh, yes, I did. She even was more open and more accountable for her actions, which kind of settled my spirit a lot. You know what I'm saying? It kind of made me feel like, even though I blamed you, it's like I convinced myself, and I even forgave you, to the point where, mama, you ain't even did nothing wrong. You only did what you only did what you could. And guess what? I'm okay with that. I'm grateful for that. I appreciate you for that. You get what I'm saying? And I gave God all the glory and the praise for that. But when she took accountability for a lot of different things in my life too, it made me feel so much better. And like I said, it made our relationship and our bond a lot easier. It really did.
I love that you said that. A lot of stuff that you just said, I love it. Number one, because you cannot go forth in your healing journey if you are not open to being accountable. I actually talked to a friend of mine today, and she was like, the word accountability and the actions of being accountable is so hard. So many people find it so hard to deal with accountability. But you cannot go forth without it. So I feel like to have you say that I came to a place where I can understand my mom, and I could, tell her like, hey, I was wrong. I did this. You didn't do anything wrong. To have her still say, no, this is what I take accountability for. You know what I'm saying? And still offer that to you when you didn't ask for it, and when you literally said, like, I'm willing to start over even without it. She still felt like I got enough love for you to still give you the same respect to be accountable for what I feel like I could have did different, or what I'm accountable for just as well as you do. And that goes way deeper than a mother-daughter relationship. That also shows you how you could be a woman, and it's okay. How you can take accountability for what you've done, and it's okay. My biggest issue right now, with my mom, and again, a lot of stuff I won't talk about because I've always loved my parents to a way I wanted to be protected. But the truth is just the truth. When it comes down to my relationship with my mom, what you just talked about, I don't have. I don't get the chance to have the open relationships just to simply say that these things made me feel a type of way. I'm in a place right now with my healing to where I don't need apologies. I don't need for you to apologize. I just need for you to respect that this particular thing made me feel some type of way. And because of that, that childhood trauma shaped me this way. It's still all things that I'm going to take accountability for to fix for myself, because I have to live this life. But it makes it easier, like you said, to be able to go and say, hey, to your parent, this is what I feel like I did wrong in this situation. and be received that way, and your parents tell you, okay, well, this is what I feel like I did wrong, and not just constantly shut the situation down. I don't want to talk about that. I don't care if that happened. That's very hurtful. And I think right now where I'm at is I'm very big on, I feel like parents need to allow kids that safe space to be able to just get off of their chest what they have on there, and not look at it as, oh no, because what they say gonna make me feel some type of way. It's gonna go against my ego, my pride, and all of that. Because I'm 42 years old. I've held a lot of things in, and I know that all it could take is for me to open my mouth, and I could crumble a lot of people. But I went the other way and made the choice not to do that because I didn't want to hurt those people. But the same people sit in my face and play in my face and see that what they've done to me hurts me, but they continue to do it or not acknowledge it because it's going to make them feel some type of way. So to have you say that throughout everything, your mom, said, hey, this is what I'm accountable for, and I apologize for that. That is a beautiful thing to rebuilding a relationship. And I think I seen your mom's name pop up in the chat. But if there's anybody in the chat that would like to unmute your mic and say anything to Precious or put a question in there, Miss Lisa, if you would like to join in and say anything to Precious, feel free to do that also. But I definitely think that it's a blessing when you can go so far and hurt, but then you can also find your way back. And when you let faith lead you, it will bring you back home. And on the way back home, you will be shocked how far you went from there. You'll come back, you know what I'm saying? On your way back home, you'll be like, wait a minute, I didn't remember going down that road. I didn't remember going through that situation. I don't recall saying those things. I don't remember slamming on the brake and bumping into the back of you, but I did.
Yep.
And you know what I'm saying? But you know what? I'm on my way home. It's a peace in returning home. And it's more than, like I say, just the physical. When you can return your mind back to a safe place, when you can put your heart at peace, it's something in listen, it's something in that space that is beautiful. And that's the reason why I like to do these meetings, because I just feel like, Pastor Jones would always tell us, when God bless you, reach back and bless somebody else. That has stuck with me from the first day he said it and every time, but it stuck with me more than just financial. And that's the reason why, like I say, I do so. When I started going through my healing process and I realized, oh, I don't have to keep carrying this trauma. Oh, it is okay to say that these things have hurt me. Oh, it's okay to let it go. Like, my fiance had to tell me, I think the biggest thing that you need to work on is being able to let go. And it's crazy
easier said than done.
I can acknowledge that that is a problem, but the reason why it's a problem for me is because I've always been the type of person where I don't want to be the source of somebody's pain, even if they're the source of mine.
Right.
So that's where I'm at right now with, with healing and things like that. I did a video today about, and I remember I captioned it, hurt people would think this is crashing out, because my truth is, so many times, like right now, you've gotten on and your truth is, this isn't it with my mom, but my mom did her part. This was me feeling something different. You know what I'm saying? Everybody don't get that. Everybody don't get to be able to acknowledge, you know what I'm saying, what your truth is. And so because I've avoided saying certain things to protect certain people, it's just like today I realized that when you avoid addressing certain things, it could end up being a lot of trauma that happened. A lot of other people get hurt until when you finally do say something, you got a slew of people saying, oh, that happened to you too? Oh, they said that to you too? Oh, they did you that way too? So now it's like you gave somebody the opportunity to continue to not only break you down, but break down other people continuously and make it a pattern that they thought it was okay. And so that
Right.
was the reason, you know what I'm saying, behind my video today, even though I think that some people probably thought it's about something else, but it's just about that even if it is your parents that's causing you your peace, that's causing you your trauma, it is okay to be vocal about that. And if there cannot be boundaries set, it's okay to walk away. You know what I'm saying? But it's also okay to acknowledge our wrongs. You know, it's okay. I've never had a problem with acknowledging my wrongs. It's just that people don't like to have conversations with me to where if I've wronged you, you give me the opportunity to acknowledge that. So to be able to hear your story where all of those spaces were available for you and allowed you to be able to return back home, it's a beautiful thing. One of somebody, the blue, they've left the chat already, but they put in there that says, I'm so proud. I'm so proud of the journey you have taken, the healing you are working on. Miss Lisa said the healing comes from accountability. Miss Miranda said you're amazing, precious. Your story is inspiring. I can relate to you. Keep speaking your truth. You're going to impact a lot of people. God bless. And Miss Lisa said, we as adults think we don't owe kids apologies because we are the parents when kids start acting out. If truth be told, it starts from home, especially when parents are broken for trauma that happened in their life. And that's so true. Miss Lisa, let me tell you something. That right there just gave me chills. It gave me
It
chills
gave
and it
me,
gave me
me
hope.
too.
Because I just want parents to understand how vital it is for you all to just hear us out and not feel like we're already your children. We're already under you. So for you to make us feel because we just want answers, because we just want closure, that it's insulting you because we have the nerve to ask you for closure. We have the nerve to question something you did. I am just so in love with the fact that you said that we as adults think we don't owe kids apologies. Because me as a mother, I have had to understand that yes, I can apologize to my kids. Yes, I
Mm-hmm.
need to give my kids the space to be truthful about, you know what I'm saying, how they feel. And so, and it starts with these conversations. It starts with us being able to have conversations so people understand, well, my actions could have possibly hurt my child. Oh, well, maybe
Mm-hmm.
when my child was acting out, it was something further that I needed to investigate. And so that's the reason why like these conversations are so important to me. And I appreciate you coming to tell your truth. I know from the initial standpoint of saying, hey, I want to tell my story. Listen, I know the devil will play with you during that time. And I remember how he's like, I'm getting nervous, I'm this, I'm that, but I'm just like, it's gonna all be okay because that's his intent is to put that fear back in you, that same fear that kept you from communicating with your mama, that made you feel like it's better to go and, you know, sleep on the couch or whatever the case may be. So I'm so grateful that you got your power back and that you found a way to overcome these things because it's needed. Miss Lisa, you got something you want to say?
Hello. Could you hear me? Or do I have to chat? Okay.
I
I can
hear
hear
you.
you, man.
Okay, yes, I have something I want to say. And I just first of all I want to give honor to God because it was God that his spirit led me to say to look back over my life, look from what I done to her, and even as a child, a little child, because of my trauma that I went through as a teenager. And I was like, you know what? Ain't nobody gonna treat my child like they treated me. And I was already grieving and fearing the worst, even before she was 2 or 3 good. So the only thing I was thinking about just trying to, if she did something, I don't think I can think about chastising her so if she wouldn't go through what I went through. So I traumatized her. I broke her spirit as a very young age. And God brought that to my remembrance. And this is what he told me I had to do. I had to, I saw it, I had to go back and take accountability what I done. All the rebellion, all the disrespect. People may say, nah, because you the parent. Yes. But I put that there because she feared me. So you think about if somebody hurting you, you want to get away from around that person. And you got so much bitterness and anger and stored up in, inside of you, and you just letting it go, even though you know that's your parents, stuff like that. But all this stuff have just balled up inside you, and you just letting it go, letting you go. But God showed me it came from somewhere, and it came from then. So once I went and apologized to her, we talked for hours, and it just the burden was just lifted. It was just out of all these years, it was just lifted and lifted. And even now, when I say it's a beautiful thing, it's a beautiful thing. And now I'm at a point where, hey, I got to embrace this because it's like we never had that.
Mm, I love that. You just gave
So
me so much hope, and I'm telling you, Precious put you down, said that you might have a powerful story. So I hope he laid upon your heart to come in as from an older adult parental standpoint and be able to tell your story, because I think that a lot of our parents that fall within like the age range of probably 50s to 60 right now was really raised on that, like, I'm the parent, so you just listen to what I say. And it kind of, when you say that you chastise her because it was out of her protection thing, I think that that's how I started raising my kids, because I was so afraid of not telling them something that could cost them in the long run. But I noticed that it made me come out so aggressive. And that's what made me think about, like, did I traumatize my baby to where she like, okay, I'm gonna tell somebody because my mama told me I always tell, but I'm just not gonna tell her because I know where
mhm.
it can be. And so even this conversation just continues to let me know that it's okay to be vulnerable with my baby. It's okay to be apologetic. It's okay to keep opening up those doors of communication, because I don't want to have to not have that bond. So I definitely just appreciate you being able to come on and just, and from a parental standpoint of taking accountability and seeing the dynamics of how that changed the relationship and made it a beautiful thing moving forward, that's all we asking for as a child. Like, I'm not asking my mom to feel shame about not knowing how to be the mom that I wanted her to be. I just want you to acknowledge that the mom you were caused me to feel this way and think this way and assume that these things were okay when they weren't. And so again, I just appreciate you even being here to be able to support her, but more so saying something and just making it clear that even as parents, sometimes, we can't overlook what's best for our kids, and that it's okay to circle the block and be open with our kids and apologize for the things that we know we possibly have done wrong. So I definitely appreciate that so, so much.
And let me say this as well. Even as parents, it doesn't come with no instruction.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not a perfect parent. You're just trying to do the best you know how. And, sometimes we could have done, should have done, but we did. But at the end of the day, I think what is once we don't did them things, we're ashamed to admit them. Because I did.
Mm-hmm.
You think about it. Who did I want to tell that I did this child like this? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
My own child, and I chastised her the way I chastised her as a child. She ain't started living life yet, but I'm already. Ain't nobody gonna do her like they did me. I'm trying to prepare her for something she don't even know nothing about.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And
Mhm.
I think, well, if I whoop her, if I beat her, she gonna be afraid to even do something. But guess what? Everything I
Mm.
did, I grieved, and that fear came up on me anyway.
Wow.
That fear came
That's
up on me anyway. Everything I fear came up on me
that's
because
powerful.
I had already pretty much in my mind speaking and all that stuff. I spoke all that.
Yep.
I just, even before she can get able to be, before she can even understand this, I had already
Mm.
just, she was living a life she didn't even know what she was, why, but just because of the way I was done, and I was just like, nobody gonna do her like this, and that was just my mindset, and like I said, everything I feared came upon me,
Mm.
everything I feared that I thought I can stop
Mm.
showed
And
up at
I
my
always
door.
try to tell people that a lot of stuff that we bring upon our life, it starts in our mindset. That's where it begins
Hmm.
to
Hmm.
manifest itself in our mindset, and then it becomes our reality.
Reality, right? It showed up. When I say showed up at my door, it showed up at my door, just like I pretty much had planned in a sense.
Mhm.
Mm.
Hmm.
Wow.
But you know what? That goes back to how it tells us that the power of life and death lies in our tongue, because we can speak things into our reality, and again, it starts with our thoughts, but they say idle mind is a devil's playground. So we
Mm-hmm.
can actually be creating our own hell because of our thoughts. And after you think
Mm-hmm.
about certain stuff, like you say, you think about it and then it becomes a part of who you are, and then you start speaking and acting a certain type of way based off of your own personal thoughts. And fear is based off of an illusion of things that hadn't even happened yet. So I mean, I definitely get it, and that's why my heart is so open and it's so accepting, because I know that that's where it came from. And I mean, what parent wouldn't want to protect their child? Because guess what? I have a daughter now, and
Mm-hmm.
I see, girl, when I tell you a lot of things that my mom was trying to protect me from, and how it was for her, I experienced that. But the beauty of it all is the fact that my mom, she's a better version of herself. So where I'm lacking and where I need help, it's like she just eased right on in, and it comes so natural. And she's like, I'm smiling, like, and I'm not just saying this because she's on here or because she's my mom, but honestly, like, she's a great person and she's a great mother. You know what I'm saying? And I notice how she's more patient with my baby now. And I love that for her, because I know that I can be very impatient. I still have my issues that I'm still working on, I'm still working through, because I was gone for 20 years. So 2 years in, what I'm saying, I'm still battling, like, not wanting to leave again. You feel what I'm saying? But when I think about leaving, I'm like, nah, I can't leave my mama. You see what I'm saying? Whereas I'll be like, well, I mean, it was never like, even if I thought about it, I'm like, she'll be all right. You know what I'm saying? Like, I would convince myself that it would be okay to leave. But now it's not okay for me to leave. You feel what I'm saying? Because I finally feel like I'm where I belong. It's
You
okay for me
heard.
to, if I want to travel, yeah, you can go, but you got to come back. You feel what I'm saying? It's more so like that for me now. But also, dealing with, I'm being at home, I'm with my baby, you know what I'm saying? So it's the responsibility of being settled and being stable. You see what I'm saying? Because where I want to keep my stuff in bags, and you know what I'm saying? No, my mom be like, no, you got dressers now. You feel what I'm saying? So sometimes I need that parent. You know what I'm saying? I need to be reparented or put in that position where I can be the daughter and she can be the mother, without her being the mother and I'm being like, you can't tell me what to do because I'm grown. No, baby,
Mm-hmm.
guess what? She's still my mama. And I can admit that to myself, that I still need to be parented. You feel what I'm saying?
Right.
I be needing, yeah, mama, I might be a big kid at this point. That's okay. Because there was a time where I needed to be a kid and I wasn't. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I'm grown. True enough, I'm grown. I pay my bills. I got my own place, but at the same time, I'm still a daughter.
Exactly. I like that. So if you had to leave a message for somebody who is still mentally, physically, emotionally on the run, still running away from their truth, from everything that they're trying to avoid, what would be your message to them? What would be your closing message to somebody who's struggling to find their way back home?
Um, and it just dropped in my spirit. Dealing is healing.
Mm, I like that. Dealing is healing. You
Yes, because you
definitely.
cannot heal from nothing if you're not dealing with it. And even though, people throw healing out there loosely, but truthfully, when you're healing, you have to trust the process because you're going to go through a healing crisis. Because when
Yeah.
your mind and your body or your thoughts mentally, whatever, if it's so accustomed to being a certain type of way, and then you decide to change that, you're
Mm-hmm.
going to go into like rejection mode. You feel what I'm saying? You're going to want to resist and you're not going to want to go through because it's uncomfortable. But it's in that discomfort is where your blessings and your healing come from.
Yeah.
Because, and I always use this as an example, and I'm going to leave it at this. I always use the example about the caterpillar and the butterfly. You start
Mm-hmm.
off as a caterpillar and you're crawling on the ground, and you having to avoid all these obstacles on the ground because you're a caterpillar, you're crawling, you're like a worm. But then all of a sudden you go up in this cocoon. Now, when you're in this cocoon, you're by yourself. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure it's dark, it's lonely, and it's very uncomfortable because now you're going through a transformation.
Mm-hmm.
Because you imagine a worm growing wings. That sounds like it hurts. So whenever this caterpillar comes out the cocoon, it's now a butterfly and it's flying, not crawling, but it's flying. So just within that transformation, I could, like me as a human, I can just only imagine how much that hurts. So I
Mm-hmm.
mean, we have to go through in order to get through. So
And I definitely vouch that the process can definitely be just like going from your caterpillar stage into your butterfly stage. But I promise you, just as beautiful as it is to see what a butterfly eventually becomes, what that caterpillar eventually becomes, when it gets there, it's beautiful. I mean, you just think about it. When we see butterflies, do we really sit there and think about that
the
butterfly's heart
process.
shape? Yeah, we don't think about it. We just be like, oh, this is just so beautiful. You're such a beautiful butterfly. But we don't think about the process. But even in you utilizing it as a story, it goes, I just want everybody to be aware that everything has a process. And don't even tell yourself that you're not able to go through the process because you do processes every day. When you wake up, once you get up, you gotta what? Put 2 feet on the ground. You put them 2 feet on the ground. Now you gotta walk to go to the bathroom, to the kitchen. If you hungry, you gotta fix something. You gotta wait while it's fixed. So you're capable of going through the process. You just gotta be willing. So
That's it.
again, I'm so grateful that you chose to tell your story. Is there anything else that you feel like you need to say that you want to speak on before we get off the live? Before I close it out?
Um, not really, kind of, sort of, but not really. I'm just gonna say I just appreciate everybody that did show up for the love and support. I do appreciate y'all for coming to show that love and support. And if you are dealing with something or going through something, like, it's okay to not be okay. And you don't have to be afraid of being judged either, because God has the final say so in any situation, and every situation should be used as like learning. I try to see my struggles or my challenges as an opportunity to learn and grow.
Mm-hmm.
So no matter what situations that we face on a day-to-day basis, because we are going to face things every day, we just have to be prepared. And being prepared, we just have to know that God is always with us. and that everything is going to be okay. It may not look like it right then, but again, it's that in the most uncomfortable positions is when God actually can use you and transform you, shape you, mold you to the person that He actually needs you to be.
Yes,
Mm.
yes, that's absolutely true. And Miss Lulu in the chat said this is very powerful. And Randasia said thank you. And I've also put off in the chat the link. If anybody on Zoom or on Facebook, I put the link on there too. If anybody is interested in taking the opportunity to just do exactly what we just did here tonight, just sit down and talk about your story, just give you the floor to be able to release whatever it is that you want to talk about or whatever, then feel free to fill out the guest link. I'm available on Tuesday, so all of Truth Be Told will be done on Tuesdays, but feel free to reach out. Let's talk, let's chat, because again, like I always say, one person's survival story can be the next person's survival guide. And then, today you use the word blueprint. And that's very powerful too, because this video could reach somebody, or, a teen or somebody that's in that stage to where they feel like the only option I have is to run away. And they might get the chance to come across this live and feel the same way that you feel, like, dang, I'm running away, but this just don't seem like the right thing to do. So maybe I should take the route of communication, reaching out, speaking up, and see if I can change the dynamics of my situation. So I definitely appreciate you. Like I said, if you know anybody, send them this way. If you ever want to talk, I am available. But I definitely think the spirit that you have, the faith that you've put before you, is definitely going to be enough to sustain you through the journey. And it's a journey. I've been on it for 4 years, and I tell people it's still days that I have my days. It's still days that I have to sit down and I have to allow God to speak to me, because there's still days that I might be triggered by something. And sometimes
Yes.
that'll even for me, because I want to be completely healed. That is my ultimate goal, is to be completely healed. But again, it's the process. When you baking a cake, it just ain't a cake out the box. It has to go through a process. So I'm just always trusting the process.
Right. And most importantly, you have to be honest with yourself.
Yes.
I have no problem with being transparent about me. A lot of times we want to hide certain things about ourselves and what we done been through or what we go through, our struggles and different things. But when you can be honest with yourself and you know that God really got you, it
Mhm.
doesn't matter what nobody says, what nobody think, or none of that. You just have to be completely honest with you.
Yes.
Like you have to know what are your triggers, because even being triggered, you have to also understand that those are your triggers.
Those are your
It's
triggers, and
you, not me.
you're still accountable for how you react. So you definitely still have to. We won't get the chance to go and say, God, I was a shitty person because everybody else was shitty to me. God gonna hold those shitty people accountable for their shit, and He gonna hold
Yeah,
you accountable for yours.
that's
And
right.
that was the most important thing. And so, therefore, like I walk and talk in a ways that if I say something, I understand I got to be bold enough to stand on it. I'm okay with taking accountability for it. If I step on toes, I'm okay with, if you say you stepped on my toes, okay, I acknowledge it. It could have been intentional. But nevertheless, I'm transparent, I'm truthful, and I'm willing to be accountable for everything that I need to be accountable for. So I think that, again, doing these stories, telling our truth, it just, it speaks volumes to the growth that we've gone through, and it speaks to how bad you want that healing and how far you're willing to go to get it. And so again, I'm thankful that you joined in. I am so grateful that your mom joined in, because to me, what you all showed tonight was a united force. You showed that as parents with your children, we can go through things, we can disconnect with one another, but we can also come back together. And like you said, it was not in this time right now, it's not, we're not connected because she's my mother and I'm her daughter. We are connected because she made the choice as a mom and I made the choice as a daughter, that we locked into this relationship. And people don't understand that you still have choices. So still, me as a mother, I still have to lock in to being a mother. My child as a daughter have to lock in to being my daughter. You still have to lock in. You just don't have things happen just because I'm the mom and you're the child. That's not
That's
the way
right.
it goes. That's how dysfunction has circulated, in our community for so long. So it's no longer that way. So if there's parents out there that think the kids just need to stay in their place, keep their mouth shut, what goes on in this house stays in this house, I'm the parent, that's all it is, because I said so, that no longer works for us anymore. That no longer works for healing process. That no longer works for you respecting somebody else's feelings. You setting boundaries. You doing what's right for the masses, and most importantly for yourself. Transparency works, admitting works, honesty works, accountability works, facing things that are right there in front of you that is screaming for your attention. That's what works. Avoidance will never work. So again, I just appreciate you. I want to close it out in prayer. If you don't have anything else that you would like to say, we'll close it out in prayer. And again, I say that I appreciate you. I love you. And I'm so grateful that God laid upon your heart to be strong, stay the course, and come tell your story. Because again, you never know who you might help, who the story might touch. So, as the young lady said, keep inspiring people. Like your mom said, shame will hold you down. And it'll make you feel like nothing when God has already appointed you to be somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's what's going on. So be that somebody, be great, continue to move forward in everything that you do, and keep making things shape. It's the journey back to Precious. I
I know
actually
that.
love your journey home. It's beautiful. And so I appreciate that. So Father God, I come to you right now, just first and foremost, just thanking you for being a stronghold in Precious life. Thank you for being there to carry her during those moments that she was too weak to walk. I thank you for bonding the relationship between her and Miss Lisa. I thank you for the ability to plan upon Miss Lisa's heart to take the accountability to see her child and not put herself before her. I thank you for showing me that hope is still alive in this situation. Just continue to stay on the path of trust in you, allowing peace to stay stored upon our hearts. I thank you for all the ladies and those that have joined in via Zoom and Facebook for taking the time out to hear this young lady's story. I pray that is set upon your heart something that you may need to work on, may need to change, or even may be able to speak about. I ask that God will give you strength and that He will give you peace and happiness and joy from this day and every day forward. In Jesus' name, I do pray. Amen. Amen.
Amen.
And amen.
Amen.
Thank
Thank
Amen.
you, babes. And we're gonna definitely get together. I think that once I wrap this up, I want to get all my ladies back on one Zoom call all together and let's talk about how we feeling after the process. And, letting everything go. Okay, so be looking out for inbox from me so we can get that set up. But I definitely love you, Miss Lisa. I love you. I've
you. I
adored
love you
you.
too, Shine.
I've
Always
adored
have
you from the
adored you,
day
girl.
I laid eyes on you in Mount Zion. I'm so you
Yes,
have no idea how grateful I am that you blessed this live tonight. I needed to hear those words that you said. In the same way you said those burdens lift off you, you gave me a sense of peace because it allowed me to understand that what I'm asking for is not too much, and that I'm gonna put it in God's hand and I'm gonna sit with my peace with it. And if it's God's will to fix the situation, then I'm there for it. And so I just
that's
appreciate
it.
you.
That's it. That's it. God will. When you ask for it,
Yeah.
believe and trust the process in
Mhm.
His timing now, not yours, but
Yeah.
His
Yep.
timing.
In His
Because when
time.
you try to rush it, because this what you want to do, it's not gonna
Mhm.
work. It's not gonna work.
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
gonna work. So just trust Him. Just trust Him.
Well, y'all didn't gave me hope. So the pastor talked about peace on Sunday, and today y'all didn't gave me hope. So I'm gonna keep standing with the peace and the hope, and I know that He's gonna make
That's
a way.
it. Because it's out there. When He said it, He's a God that can't lie. So it's. I'm telling you, that's what keeps you going forward.
And I'm gonna keep moving forward. So I definitely thank you, ladies. I love y'all. Until we talk
We
again,
love you
y'all.
too. All right. Thank you. Have a good night.
All right. Good
Bye,
night.
ladies in the chat, by Facebook Live, joining Tuesday.